Charlie, Vital Pharmaceuticals went bankrupt, Bang Energy going broke. Oh, no! Oh, goodness! Not Jack Owak. Oh, God. Bang Energy parent company files for bankruptcy! Why? You telling me an absolutely unhinged CEO going rabid and making absolute... I don't even know the right word to describe his claims. Outrageous, I guess? About super creatine and shit? You're telling me that wasn't the recipe for success? And having women dance around and rub themselves over Bang Energy to sell it wasn't enough? You think this is it for Bang? Oh, I have no idea. Vital Pharmaceuticals, though, being the parent company of Bang, does bode poorly, and Bang themselves is locked into a big lawsuit right now with Monster over their super creatine claims, which were just wrong. We need Elon to save the day. That's what Jack Owak needs to do. If he just makes a post on Twitter asking Elon to buy his company out, Elon would probably do it. Jack Owak put out a new video about bankruptcy on YouTube. No way. Oh my god. Is he addressing it head on, or is this him trying to prove the super creatine is real?
Hello and welcome, friends. I'm the CEO of Bang Energy, and I hope this message finds you well and thriving. With all the recent news and everybody from Bloomberg to BevNet being obsessed with Bang Energy, there have been numerous questions regarding super creatine and whether it's real. I can assure you that super creatine is real. Just like creatine monohydrate or any other forms of creatine, super creatine increases free creatine in plasma and blood and muscle.
Oh yeah, if this is your first time seeing Jack Owak, you're in for a wonderful surprise. This man dresses like what every 12-year-old boy in 1994 thought was cool fashion. He has like these awful, awful chains, the worst suits imaginable. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next clip we see him in some parachute pants.
For starters, even Monster's own bought and paid for study showed a rise of creatine levels in human muscles after test subjects consumed super creatine.
CEO Man 3000.
The Monster Commission study. Yeah. Furthermore,
bro, just tell me about the
fact
lawsuit.
That in my opinion, the Monster study was defectively designed to make super creatine look inferior. Super creatine nevertheless elevated creatine levels in human test subjects. What's even more remarkable is that free creatine levels in the blood continue to rise.
Bro, just address the lawsuit. I don't really.
After ingestion.
I don't really
We are
care.
obviously very proud and excited about the Peking study.
You can all. He's criticizing the Monster study for tanking the super creatine results, but he could have very easily had bogus studies on confirming the super creatine results. It's a door that swings both ways. I'd rather he just like address on the nose what's happening with the lawsuit more so than trying to like verify super creatine's real, which I'm going to tell you I don't believe in at all. I don't think there is a fucking shot Jack Owak, this absolute unhinged CEO of Bang, somehow cracked a new improved creatine for Bang Energy. I don't see it, but that's not even what I'm interested in. I just want to see how the lawsuit's going and this company going bankrupt. It's been that way for years. You guys might remember back in... when was it? I think it was the 60s. Can't remember. We even went over it on stream. Back when there was this huge push against sugar. So in order to placate that, companies started hiring labs to do other studies to say, actually, it's not the sugar making everyone fat. It's the fat content. So then they'd start pointing to these studies like, no, sugar is unfairly blamed. It's fat. And for about, like 30 years, people believed it. Fat was vilified by the general populace. And sugar got off scot-free for quite a while.
What about you? In a recent trial against Monster, we were issued a $293 million verdict.
Yeah.
This alone would cause almost any company to file bankruptcy. This, however, does not mean Bang is going out of business. Quite the contrary. Chapter 11.
We're doing better now than ever.
Reorganization to keep our business alive and to pay our creditors over time.
Jack, I'm going to be your business strategist here for a moment. You need to invest in even more chains and more almost nude women to promote Bang. We need to double down in the sectors that are going to make us pop off. And that's you as the influencer face on the YouTube channel and surrounded by all of the Bang Energy women like rubbing it in their ass crack and all that. That's where we need to put our focus for marketing, and we will survive this, I have no doubt, Jack.
Let me repeat that, my friends. Bang Energy will be doing business as usual.
Amen.
In fact, with our new decentralized distribution system, I believe that you'll be able to find more flavors of Bang Energy in more places than ever before. In addition to our eloquent...
That's not, like... That's not, like, the great flex he really thinks it is. The bankruptcy reorganizing isn't a great thing to even spin positively. It's just coming across more sad than anything. But hey, to each their own, baby.
What about you?
Nope.
Creatine monohydrate has terrible
You shouldn't ask me
solubility in
that.
water. I once stirred and left creatine monohydrate in a glass of water overnight, and the creatine monohydrate never dissolved. However, super creatine is highly water soluble and goes into solution within a few minutes. That sounds pretty darn super to me. What about you?
Still no.
Super creatine is stable in a beverage and
Still fucking no. All of this is just easily faked and easily manufactured and manipulated. It's just fucking worthless. It really is. And especially because you're only citing one study. You are still only citing a single study that was performed outside of the US, I'm pretty sure. Who was it? I believe it was Peking Bio. It's for international students taught in Chinese. So it is outside of the US, right? Is it in China?
water stable at room temperature. Other forms of creatine are not stable in water and over time degrade to creatinine. That sounds pretty darn super to me. What about you?
You gotta stop asking me,
This
Jack.
just
Still not.
in. We have preliminary evidence that shows that supercreatine may have a half-life in human plasma for roughly 7 days. Furthermore, supercreatine is made up of roughly 50% L-leucine.
Where was that? You're not gonna cite that one? This just in. I made something else up real quick. Who performed that study?
Furthermore, supercreatine is made up of roughly 50% L-leucine, which is known as the most powerful contributor to muscle protein synthesis out of all essential branched-chain amino acids.
You want to know a fun fact about that one? This claim's not even like super wrong. But you want to know what's interesting? Every fucking drink ever has this in it. It's not like Bang all of a sudden has this chemical X. This shit is found in every fucking drink. It is like one of the most common additives to a drink. Thanks, the resub Rose. He must really think people that drink Bang are stupid.
In fact, no other creatine molecules contain the powerful amino acid L-leucine except for supercreatine.
What are you talking about? What? I don't know what the claim he's making in regards to supercreatine, but literally every single drink, every single, even not supplements, but the shake stuff, not Soylent, but you guys know what I'm talking about, like the flavor additives, like all that shit has that. All of it. Fucking all of it. It's not unique to Bang or super creatine, unless he's somehow using it differently, which I don't think he is.
Hey, this sounds pretty darn super to me. What about you?
No, it sounds
If this is
standard.
why Monster
Stop asking me
suing
that.
us,
You
I
know
have a
where I
patent on
stand.
Supercreatine. Rodney Sachs
That's
is
not a
now
good
suing
thing.
me personally and trying to destroy my family and children by taking away my house and other possessions. It is important to note that we recently filed a mega lawsuit against Monster Energy Drink and Rodney Sachs. This lawsuit refers to more than 120 reports of suspected links between consumption of Monster Energy Drink and serious adverse health events, including 10 heart attacks and roughly 20 deaths.
Let's take a peek at Bang's list of fatalities. I'm sure you're not far behind. Monster is significantly bigger than Bang, but I bet Bang has quite a long list of bodies here. Let's see. Bang-related heart attacks. Still not focusing in on Bang. It just keeps casting the net wider. The reason I want to single out Bang, not only because of the Monster call-out, but Bang has more caffeine. So Bang has 300 milligrams of caffeine, which is a fucking ton. Like, that's a lot. And I think, what does Monster have? Monster has 86. What? Is that right? Oh, 180. Where is this 86 coming from? Oh, this isn't giving me a whole can. I see. Yeah, this wasn't the whole can. It was just giving me like a serving size of the can. So yeah, 160 according to this. So Bang is almost double the caffeine. Let's take this. So they're coming after Monster for heart attacks and adverse health effects. And that's going to be attributed to the caffeine because of like atrial fibrillation, I think is what it's called. From like too much caffeine. I'm going off memory here. And that's at 180, 160 milligrams of caffeine for Monster. Now double that. Bang's in a much worse spot.
We know that Monster has been involved in well over 1,000 lawsuits. Many individuals and companies have been destroyed by Monster, who is now trying to destroy us. Remember, friends, what the great late Albert Einstein said, great spirit.
Caffeine's not correlated with AFib? I thought it was. Again, I'm going off memory. It's something, though. Here, let me at least get it right. What is it then? Caffeine is directly correlated with some kind of heart condition, like too much caffeine. Let me see. It's not often. 94% of physicians agree something, even when its benefits have been demonstrated in randomized clinical trials, such as the use of beta blocker. Oh, wait. No, kind of. Focused on 3 types of specific arrhythmias, 1 atrial fibrillation. So it is listed there. But yeah, this is excessive caffeine. This isn't just like one energy drink kind of caffeine, which is what I was saying. Like too much caffeine.
Primarily because of Monster's insistence upon waging war against supercreatine and me personally.
No one wants to go to war with you, Jack. You're too cool,
as we are
too
of
scary.
Supercreatine, I don't know anybody who drinks a Bang energy drink because of supercreatine. Do you? In fact,
that's like your main selling point. What do you mean? Of course there's people that do. Bro, you hype super creatine up like it's like a panacea. There are absolutely people that drink Bang Energy just because of the fucking super creatine claims. What are you talking about? Now you're just blatantly lying. What are you saying? That is your main talking point. Outside of the women shaking their ass and their tits next to a Bang Energy can, the next thing that you try and market is the super creatine. It's like the crux of your strategy.
Thank you for your loyalty. Thank you for your support. Make no mistake, my friends
like
and loyal supporters, Bang Energy is coming like a freight train and cannot be stopped.
Oh shit, he's ripping on it. That double bass going hard. All right. I would say not the best defense of the massive, massive lawsuit, but it could have been worse. Bang CEO says yes to the dress. Oh, someone recommended that last time and I forgot. They made like their own documentary about themselves. Well, he made his own documentary about himself, and his family were just side characters in it.
My fiance is Jack Owak. We're wildly entertaining when we get together. We're both little kids at heart. He's definitely the man that God put on this earth for me.
Yeah, they're very spiritual. And she couldn't be more right about them being kids at heart. I mean, you need look no further than Jack Owak's fashion. In pretty much everything you ever see him in,
hello and welcome, friends.
He's wearing shit like this. She's on the money. For sure. W drip. It is quite drippy. This man's out here with that super swag style set to ultra. Looking real nice.
About being classy. Definitely want to be covered up here. I came here today to make sure she got the right dress. Most of Megan's clothes, like her jeans today, her shoes, everything, I dressed her in.
Ah, that sounds healthy.
He's my fiance and I want to make him very happy. So I'm open to trying on any different style.
Okay. What's your budget?
I'm prepared.
I don't let my wife
to
make her
pay
own
whatever it
decisions.
takes to get that, that
Her budget is what I say it is.
Different mermaid looks here.
It quickly becomes obvious who's looking to take charge.
I'm not feeling it. I want you to try this one on.
I hate lace. But
What did you just say?
know best.
What did you just say to Jack? Don't ever say that again. And especially not in public, you fucking harlot. This is his special day, for God's sake. Let him pick out the dress he wants.
I didn't know what I liked, what I didn't like. I was really just looking at Jack.
Gina, Lazar.
What an awful fucking relationship. I don't know what I like. I only like what Jack tells me I like. So when I was looking for things, I had no mind of my own except what Jack wanted. God, that's awful. I feel terrible. Just even hearing that.
Is it gonna have enough room here in the chest area, though?
Yeah, it
Last
probably
time I
will.
looked, this store wasn't named Brothels by Jack.
Since the groom already vetoed the bride's choice,
Well, it will be soon when he buys it. With all the money
puts her in
Bang's
a
not
sexy,
making.
flirty gown.
But what is Jack?
Oh, he's gonna hate it. He's gonna hate it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, he's gonna hate it. You harpy, how dare you.
Wow.
I don't want to get married now. I hate the dress. You can see it on his face.
Now tell me how you feel about this.
I really like this, but I want to know what Jack thinks about this dress.
Excessive amounts of ruffles. You know I don't like ruffles.
Is this say yes to the dress or say yes to the breast?
Ooh, he had that one cooking in his back pocket.
Pull that top up.
Tell us an ideal dress.
I need to speak with my fiance about that.
The ideal dress is something like a white hoodie, perhaps, and with a giant Bang chain, perhaps. And I'll even get her maybe a bouquet of flowers to carry around, but only if I can put little Bang toppers on them. That's the proper attire.
We're gonna put Meg Liz in a sophisticated sheath gown with embroidered details.
How dare you! Are you out of your mind? This is say yes to the dress, not say yes to fucking tits!
Oh yeah,
Jack is gonna blow a gasket.
beautiful.
Is this a joke? Are you not taking his criticism seriously? Jack, I'm so sorry they're doing this to you, man.
Now tell me how
They're
you
not even
feel about
considering
this.
your
I
feelings.
would say like 8.5.
Whoa.
I really like this one.
Scale from 1 to 10.
It's
and
a
all those
1.
Points.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's bad.
Wow, I thought I had some claws.
Didn't even ask
This
Jack.
fiance, he's making me look like a kitten.
Now
I am sure there are plenty of dresses that allow enough room to breathe and enough room in there for the Lord to come in. We can't be coming out here showing this much skin. As Jack says, it's not skin to win. We're getting married. It's a holy matrimony. There's nothing holy about this dress. Ridiculous. I'm on Team Jack. This is outrageous. Why is his wife making her own decisions again? Why is Jack not back there? Huh? What happened? Jesus Christ. They kick him out? Ugh. This show is very unprofessional.
You gotta stand up for yourself and figure out what you want.
What did you just say? You just said that in front of Jack Owak. Do you realize that? Well, I hope you like being blacklisted for Bang energy drinks. Never getting one of those again.
maybe we should start looking for the dress that I knew I wanted, the mermaid style.
Finally,
Pardon?
the bride is shopping for herself.
Okay.
Okay, what do we got now?
Mermaid style, blurmaid style, my ass.
Gown with a sweetheart neckline.
If this isn't coming out like a sweatshirt or like a Letterman jacket, it's a no. Nope. Nope, you fucked it.
Oh my gosh. I love
What are you
this.
not understanding?
This along the lines of what you want.
Yes. Now I know exactly what I like. My figure looks amazing, and I absolutely love the mermaid style.
Okay, we found a dress.
Mermaids
she
are the work of the
loves,
devil.
But now we need to keep the fiance from throwing a Tootsie Roll in the punch bowl.
I don't know that expression, but that's not happening. There's a Tootsie Roll going right in there.
Gotta go.
Coming in.
This one. I had a strong
Get ready to
feeling
fish the
that this
Tootsie Roll out of the
dress
punch
might
bowl.
Be my dress, and I realized that I do not want my fiance to change my mind.
You want me to kick him out?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
What?
Are y'all ready to see the next dress?
Yes.
Okay, Jack, honey, I got some bad news.
What's that?
Meg absolutely, positively loves this dress.
That's too damn bad. It doesn't matter what she wants. This is Jack Owak's wedding.
Kind of wanting to refuse to go, but you know, Lori's running the show.
God.
It's her world. I'm just visiting.
He must have like the stiffest back in the entire East Coast. The way he walks, it's like a robot. Like a Bang android.
She picked the right dress. Beautiful, classy. She rocked.
Oh, they paid him. It's the same kind of dress that he had an issue with before. They softened him up for the show. All staged. No. Of course it's not staged. Actually, to be honest, I bet everything that happened at the shop probably was like a little of Jack leaning into him being the douchebag, but that's just kind of Jack. Like, that is very Jack Owak behavior, to be honest. I have a huge update to a story I covered yesterday, and I'm just going to be honest and upfront right away. it put a smile on my face. I was grinning ear to ear like a child who just met Optimus Prime at Universal Studios theme park. Like, this was good news that they dropped because it showed signs of life for the little guy against an evil soulless corporation known as Nexon. I'll quickly bring you up to speed with a little speed run of the lore here. Dark and Darker is a game that's not even fully out yet. They've done a few playtests, and I am a huge fan. I've played every playtest thoroughly. I'm hard addicted to the playtests, and it's just a beloved game at the moment that was unjustly pulled from Steam due to a DMC copyright takedown issued by Nexon, claiming that Dark and Darker and the developers behind it, Iron Mace, stole from them. Both stole assets and also stole the idea from Nexon's unreleased project called P3. Now, there's a lot more muddying of the waters, but that's the gist of it. Nexon had the game removed from Steam. It has been taken down because Nexon has cease and desisted Iron Mace. So Dark and Darker is effectively dead at the moment since they're unable to continue working on it. Otherwise, it'd be a legal matter. So they have to cease all operation on it, put the kibosh on the whole project while they engage in this lengthy and expensive legal battle with Nexon. Now, Nexon you probably only know from MapleStory, but they have hundreds of millions of dollars at their disposal that they're probably going to throw against Iron Mace to try and bully them legally into shutting down because, as I said in the last video, it seems like they're just upset that they missed out on the chance to milk the golden udder of this cash cow, Dark and Darker. They had a similar idea, but one that they were unable to fully realize on their own, and Dark and Darker has absolutely fucking crushed it. So they're mad, and this is their way of lashing out and throwing a temper tantrum. And even if they do win in court, they certainly lost in the court of public opinion. This whole stunt from Nexon has been a reputation ruiner. Not even like Nexon was in good standing with gamers in the first place. They're a fucking scummy company for a million other reasons, but this one went above and beyond the level of shittiness most people would have expected from them. Their greed is just this open, festering wound that I can't wait to pour salt in, because this update I have for you is good news. Iron Mace went full fucking barbarian mode on this one and just slapped around this lawsuit, at least in terms of like debunking the core points and dismantling a lot of the arguments they tried to make. So I want to show you their response so we can go over it together, because I think they did a great job at laying the smack down here and defending themselves. In the cease and desist from Nexon, they note that there's a lot of similarities between the files of Dark and Darker and the files in their project P3. It says the comparison of resources in the folder created when installing Dark and Darker to those when installing P3 game shows that these two games had 2,338 files with the same names. Even if we exclude the number of files essentially included in the Unreal Engine itself from the above, more than 1,000 files have the same file name, and below is a list of the resource file names that are identical in Dark and Darker in the P3 game. So they went through and listed out all of these files, and Iron Mace went through and made a spreadsheet showing these files that are listed in this lawsuit in Exhibit D, and where they came from in Dark and Darker. As you can see, the astute observer will notice the vast majority of these files come from the Unreal Marketplace. They are fucking Unreal assets. They do not belong to Nexon, and Nexon cannot claim ownership over these assets. I have played 1,000, 5,000, 20,000, nay, 100,000 shitty Steam games that have all used similar assets, so I notice a lot of the same things in those games to Dark and Darker. They are there for a reason. They are fair game for developers to use. I'm not saying that to say that Dark and Darker is lazy and these assets are shitty. The point is, I have seen these assets used in thousands of games. They are not Nexon's. They did not steal these from Nexon. The reason why they're going to share the same names is because they're the same fucking assets. And in the document, you'll even see a section of files that don't come from the Unreal Marketplace. They are made by Iron Mace, and they explain that the reason these have similar names is because they're relying on the same fantasy tropes that have existed for a long time. Thus, the files in P3 that bear a similar name is because it's in the same goddamn the same goddamn genre that has existed for so long, so of course the names are going to be similar. They are not Nexon assets, and they did a great job of showcasing this here by taking the file that was named in the Exhibit D section of the cease and desist and showing exactly where it came from in the Unreal Marketplace, for example, which I think completely debunks that whole claim of stolen assets. So it really seems like this whole stolen asset claim is a load of horseradish. I expected that maybe they'd try and make a claim like, oh, actually, the prison bars used in Dark and Darker were lifted directly from P3, and here's proof of that. But they didn't even do that. They listed all of these files, and it was very easy for Iron Mace, although I'm sure it was a laborious and tedious process, to take those files that were listed in this cease and desist and be like, no, the reason these are similar is because it's a fucking asset on Unreal. So to me, that just seems like an easy slam dunk. So at best, this claim was incompetent. And at worst, a malicious attempt to bully a smaller developer because you're a very petty, evil corporation. So now let's get into their statement here. I'm not going to read everything verbatim, I'm just going to be picking out the most important pieces to the overall story, though I highly recommend reading their entire statement if you're interested in all of it. Nexon states that according to their investigation, Dark and Darker appears to have been built and developed using trade secrets and copyrighted information copied and stolen from Nexon. We would like to show that these allegations are baseless, no copyrighted materials or misappropriated trade secrets from Nexon were used by Iron Mace. The next paragraph highlights that P3 was only registered a month ago, meanwhile Dark and Darker has been public for more than 6 months. And then they get to the first point of contention, where one of their members was accused of acquiring and transferring key assets to his personal server without authorization. So Iron Mace elaborates on this, telling the whole story, which I won't read the entirety of, I'm just going to give you the cliff notes here. Basically, the accused member, the former Nexon employee, was working from home due to COVID-19 protocol remote work policy and was utilizing personal servers, but these servers were the subject of approvals and reapprovals, so he was under the impression that his actions were accepted by Nexon and it wasn't a problem. Eventually, the Nexon employee decided to leave in June of 2021 due to a breakdown of trust with one of his superiors and due to the uncertain atmosphere at the company. So he turned in his badge and left the office and decided to pursue his own path here, but he worked closely with his development team during his time at Nexon and informed them about his plans to leave, and made it clear that the reason for leaving was due to the uncertain atmosphere fostered at the company, and also stated that he'd welcome the team's talents for his next endeavor. He made it clear that he'd likely pursue a project in the same genre as P3, but explicitly clarified that any development would be made completely from scratch. This fact has been noted in witness testimony collected by the police investigating a separate personal lawsuit filed against the accused member by Nexon. That is a huge piece of this pie here. So even though he did talk to the former employees here, the former team about, pursuing a game in the same genre as P3, he made it clear to them that it would be unrelated and everything would be built from scratch. The only thing it would share is the genre, which, again, you can't copyright a genre, especially one that's been around for as long as fantasy has. It's fantasy tropes, right? You can't copyright fucking wizards, magic, swords, spears, and shields, and archers, and all that. Like, it just doesn't work. The only thing they shared in common was that setting and the fact that they were extraction-based games. It's not something that you should be able to copyright since it's already an established genre and established setting. So I feel like this is a crucial piece of information here, that it was made clear and even has testimony backing it, that even though it was in the same genre as P3, everything would be made from scratch, and it wouldn't be just P3 again. It was going to be its own identity. Now, continuing on, they talk about how once Nexon became aware of this member's plans to leave the company, they decided to send the internal audit team after him. They sicked the hounds on him. So they started to immediately accuse him of stealing files, even though they had been able to observe his activity for a long time now and had no problem with it up until, I guess, he decided to leave the company. So he got fired based on these unproven claims and subsequently sued by the company a month later. And that personal lawsuit is still ongoing, and he's been the subject to multiple search warrants, as has Iron Mace, and so far they've found nothing to substantiate any of these claims or any of these accusations against them. So this poor guy just wants to make a good game, and he can't help but get sued more than McDonald's here by Nexon, who's holding a grudge against him. So he and Iron Mace have been the subject to multiple searches from authorities, and still they have found nothing to substantiate any of their claims. There is no evidence to back up anything Nexon is claiming. The next claim they tackle is the takedown notice submitted by Nexon alleges that the founder of Iron Mace, Terrence, knew that the accused members used stolen trade secrets and copyrighted material to develop Dark and Darker to knowingly benefit oneself and Iron Mace, basing this claim purely on past association and without offering any proof. The founder of the company has no knowledge that any stolen trade secrets or copyright material were ever used to develop Dark and Darker. In fact, the founder has on multiple occasions told members of his team they must be extra diligent in ensuring that everything is done by the books in order to uphold the vision and branding of the company. The takedown notice then states that Nexon's P3 game has never been disclosed to a third party during this period in an attempt to strengthen their claims that the only way to have come up with a similar idea was to have stolen it. However, this claim can be clearly proven false. Nexon disclosed P3 in a media showcase in August 2021 to members of the gaming media, who then wrote about it in multiple blogs and articles as shown below, and then they dropped the fucking receipts here. So they lay the receipts out on the table. They say, here's the buffet of proof. Would you like to take a slice here? And clearly show that P3 was revealed to the public well before Dark and Darker. It's not something that was, kept under lock and key in a vault buried underground where only a few people had access to the information of its existence. This is something that they publicly showcased at one point. Thus, it's not like it was stolen from them. And again, it's a genre. It is a genre. You can't own the entirety of an entire fucking genre. It's not yours. Iron Mace also recognizes and calls attention to this fact. The takedown notice then states that no other games had the same concept, genre, and plot as the P3 game, even though none of those contents of these categories are original, and other games like Expedition Agartha have all three that are similar. The notice then states that within a mere 10 months of forming Iron Mace, its demo/test version of Dark and Darker became publicly available in August 2022. The notice states that it is impossible for Iron Mace to have developed Dark and Darker in such a short time frame without using Nexon's trade secrets and confidential information, again, without offering any proof. And then their response is, just because it may be difficult for a large bureaucratic company such as Nexon to develop games in such a short time frame does not mean that it's impossible for another studio, big, small, new or old, to develop games quickly. Holy shit, stand back there preaching right now. You don't have to be bilingual to understand this language of facts that they're laying down right now. They're saying that this is an outrageous claim just because you are a mismanaged corporation that can't roll out games in a meaningful time frame doesn't mean every video game company is as poorly managed as you are. Games can be developed in a timely fashion without ever playing dirty or stealing from other places, and they're absolutely right. A lot of these big studios are extremely slow with updates or anything at all for their games. And it's not because it's impossible, it's because they're just not managed properly. You see indie games all the time able to make patch upon patch in really quick time frames because they're passionate and they work effectively. And even some big studios do as well. It's not all of them, of course, but you see it time and time again for a lot of big ones. This is a very factual statement here, and it's a stupid claim for them to make. There's no way in such a short time frame they could make a game. It takes us 15 years to make MapleStory 1.5. Like, there's no way. No, it doesn't make any sense. They had to have stolen from us. It's stupid. And Iron Mace also calls out the fact that this is generic fantasy shit, right? It is tropey fantasy shit. They even list another game that has all three of these similarities that Nexon lists, which was Expedition Agartha. In this genre, a lot of games are going to bear a lot of resemblance because it's established and has been established for such a long time now. So it's not uncommon or unusual for a lot of these games to have very similar things in them. They even expand on this a bit by saying that they have evidence they'll be releasing soon that shows exactly how they built the game so quickly and efficiently. And I imagine this is going to be like alpha footage of the game during its development. And interestingly enough, I have actually heard a couple streamers that were talking about this mention that they've seen Dark and Darker when it was still in the alpha. So you can see that it was entirely built like by them from scratch and also using the assets. So it should be a very easy thing for them to prove, and I imagine that's going to be yet again another easy layup for them. The statement then goes further, hammering the point home about the file similarity that Nexon's hung up on, explaining that once again, they are Unreal assets for the most part, or general fantasy concepts that of course are going to share similar names in the files because they're similar concepts. Nexon then makes the claim that even if they are purchased from the Unreal marketplace, it doesn't explain why the character assets and all of that are identical to P3. So then they had to explain to them that it's general fantasy shit, so of course it's going to look similar. They're both playing in the same fantasy realm, so the character is obviously going to look similar. And then they touch on why, like, the concept art looks similar to P3. And I can't even believe this needs to be said, but it did need to, and Iron Mace makes the statement that the character concept artwork for both games were created by the same individual, explaining the similarities in style. Obviously, they have the same artist here that worked on both games, and he's no longer at Nexon. He is now with Iron Mace. It's not like he's going to drastically change his artistic style, so clearly some of the concept art and art pieces are going to bear resemblance. It's the same fucking person who did art. So clearly that explains that. It's not that he stole art from Nexon. It's just the same goddamn guy doing the art, and he has an individual style. I love this next part. The notice then states that the level and extent of the two games' key concepts, genre, and storyline make it clear that Iron Mace must have used Nexon's trade secrets to create Dark and Darker. And again, both the concepts and storyline are purposely traditional and generic and can be found in many fantasy games, including pen and paper RPGs, which was one of the main inspirations for Dark and Darker. The premise of adventurers delving into dungeons full of monsters and treasures in their quest to seek riches is so generic and common that it can be broadly applied to numerous other fantasy games. Just for fun, we asked ChatGPT to come up with a description for a generic PvP dungeon crawling game that created an eerily similar game description below. So, and then here's that description that ChatGPT came up with. The point of this was to showcase just how generic all of the concepts and everything in Dark and Darker is, and purposely so. It's all just traditional RPG established elements, nothing new. They didn't reinvent the wheel, they just did a very great job of it. They utilized it beautifully and made a very fun and unforgettable experience out of it. But at its core, it is generic fantasy, top to bottom. In closing, Iron Mace states, given the information presented, it is difficult to believe that Nexon, in good faith, could reasonably believe that Iron Mace has infringed on the copyrights for their P3 project. They also provide no actual evidence that Iron Mace misappropriated Nexon's trade secret information in the creation of Dark and Darker, but instead base it on circumstantial claims. Finally, they accuse Iron Mace of a flagrant breach of Valve's SSA and SOCR, restricting our ability to provide our game to players on the largest mainstream PC game platform and severely obstructing our ability to do business. Iron Mace requests that Nexon renounce their baseless claims. If they would like to compete on merit, we welcome Nexon to promptly accommodate the comparison of source code, custom assets, and design documents with the police to quickly and decisively put an end to this matter. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful statement from Iron Mace. I think this was an incredible job from their team here in defending themselves. I don't see any merit to Nexon's claims at all anymore. Even going into this, I thought they were shaky and shoddy at best, but now they seem just completely baseless, and I think Iron Mace has done a great job of, at the very least, clearing their name to the public from the few people that thought maybe Nexon did have a case here. I'm very happy with this update, and I'm optimistic that this lawsuit, should it continue going forward, will actually be ruled in favor of Iron Mace. Nexon doesn't really seem like they have a whole lot in the tank here unless they have all kinds of new information that they haven't revealed. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Dark and Darker is an amazing game that I'm still extremely excited for, and I hope this gets resolved quickly because I want to do the next playtest ASAP. So that's really about it. See ya. A class action lawsuit has been filed against PlayStation for nearly $6 billion by a consumer champion named Alex Neal. Now, I'm not Saul Goodman, but if I was, I'd start planting cocaine right now because this is a huge lawsuit that's going to need a miracle to win, I think. I'm not an expert here, but it does seem like this lawsuit's got teeth, and they're coming at Sony's throat. 6 billion clams. 6 billion barnacles. You know how much I love wackiness. I love wackiness more than Bubble Bass loves Krabby Patties, and this lawsuit's got me hyped. Now, this lawsuit is proudly brought to you by PlayStationYouOweUs.co.uk, which is a beautiful website name. Like, that's pretty aggressive. It reminds me of like a Roblox petition to get their V-Bucks back or something. But this was a site where people would sign up who felt wronged by Sony, and Alex Neil is the class representative. And on the site, there's a 5-point breakdown that talks about why they're trying to steam PlayStation's ham. So the first point being that Sony has a near monopoly on the sale of digital games and add-on content through its control of the PlayStation Store. Sony uses this dominance to enforce strict terms and conditions on game developers and publishers. These terms allow Sony to set the price of digital games and in-game content and charge a 30% commission on every purchase of digital games and in-game content from the PlayStation Store. This results in excessive and unfair prices to consumers for their digital games and in-game content. And these prices are all out of proportion to the costs of Sony providing these services to its consumers. So basically they're saying that Sony has used its dominant position in the market to unfairly overcharge consumers. Now, for reference, this was filed in the UK, and a brand new PS5 game in the UK will cost you about £70, which is the equivalent to $82. So I do think they're getting fucked in the ass a bit here. It's quite an overcharge, if you ask me. And I'd love to see them win this lawsuit, you know, power to the players, as PlayStation says. But the more I read into it, the less confident I feel that they'll be able to Fortnite dance on the grave of Sony with this lawsuit. I don't really think they're going to get a big W from it. And let me just explain why I think that. I'd love to be proven wrong. Like I said, I think it would be great if they actually did win this lawsuit, because I do believe they're being overcharged. But I don't think they have the strongest case here. Just looking at these first 5 points, the first one just stands out as factually incorrect. They're claiming that Sony has a near monopoly on the sale of digital games and add-on content, which is just blatantly wrong. I would slap you with a fat F on your report card if you submitted this to me. Like, that is just not true. There's Xbox, Nintendo, Steam, there's so many other digital games vendors out there. It's not just Sony. Now, if you're talking about PlayStation exclusives, then yes, Sony has a monopoly on the digital sale of the PlayStation exclusives. But if that is the claim, it needs to be a lot more clear, because with the wording here, it just makes it sound like you think Sony is the only console to exist and the only platform for digital games, which it isn't. The other thing that was confusing my little reptile brain was that 30% commission they mentioned, talking about how the Sony demands 30% cut of digital game and in-game purchase sales from the developers. That's not exclusive to just Sony. Xbox, Nintendo eShop, pretty much every digital game vendor has some kind of commission that they force. It's not just Sony, so I don't understand why they would target them specifically, since it's the industry norm. But I decided to spread the cheeks a little further, dig a bit deeper, and listen to what the UK consumers were saying. And it seems to be that in the competitors' shops, like the Nintendo eShop, for example, they adjust their prices so that way the conversion makes sense and they're not being overcharged. Like, a new Nintendo Switch game is £50, which when converted to like US dollars is about what we're paying in the States. However, when it comes to the PlayStation Store, that's not the case. So a new PlayStation 5 game in the States is $70, and in the UK, it's £70. However, that converts to a lot more. That's 82 US dollars. They are just blatantly paying more. Instead of adjusting that price down to like £60 or whatever, they just keep it at that 70, and thus they're being overcharged. At least that's what I was reading from the UK consumers, which, again, at the end of the day, it's blatantly obvious that they are paying a lot more for games than we are in the States, and I totally do agree that it is a ripoff. And Alex Neil, the class representative, has 14 years of experience as a consumer rights advocate. So it's not some joke of a lawsuit that was haphazardly thrown together by a faceless nobody. This isn't like that situation on Twitch where that guy tried to sue Twitch for like $100 million because he couldn't stop watching female streamers and ejaculating, and he tried to blame Twitch for a porn addiction. This isn't that case. This is a real legitimate case that Alex Neil has put together. But I just don't know if it's focused enough to actually win. It seems way too generalized and broad, and you can look no further than their own website, where at the very end of these 5 points, they made this statement that just seems a bit misguided to me. This just seems like another desperate effort to throw something at the wall and see what sticks. The business model of gaming has changed dramatically over recent years. The move from games sold as physical discs to games sold digitally has seen the introduction of in-game content, where players must now also pay to progress, unlock more features, or customize their experience with new characters or weapons. Games are now designed to incentivize players to spend as much money as possible, including children. We believe that customers are paying too much for these digital products and that they deserve to be treated better by Sony and compensated. Our legal action is the first of its kind against Sony in the UK. Now, I am never a fan of the think of the children argument. I don't see why they put this here at all, because this doesn't even really run in line with what the lawsuit's aiming for. This is talking about how predatory microtransactions have become the norm, which they have, and it's a huge issue. But that's not what this lawsuit's really about. It's about being overcharged by the PlayStation Store. Talking about predatory and greedy marketing practices from these games that are preying on children, or like fucking massive dopamine hits, dopamine fiends to spend more money, is an issue, yes, but it's not the issue that you're really aiming at here. You're not putting that in the crosshairs. And it's also not like Sony is the puppet master forcing all these developers to be greedy and put these microtransactions in the game. Like, let's say Diablo Immortal's on PS5. Sony has no say-so in what way they monetize that game. It's on their platform, sure, but it was Blizzard that decided to put all of those terrible, terrible microtransactions in there that are preying on, you know, people with a spending problem or children or whatever, not Sony. Now, if the argument Sony keeps those prices too high, then yes, I suppose there's a real argument to be made there that the price is still too high. But the way this is framed makes it sound like it was Sony that decided to put all of those there when it wasn't. It wasn't their decision to have all of those predatory business practices baked into those games. That was the developers. I just don't really get why it's mentioned here. Because let's say Sony brings the price down so that way it's more fair across the board, where, you know, if you're buying a microtransaction in a game in the UK, it costs exactly the same as what it costs me to buy it in the States. It still doesn't solve the core issue that you're bringing up here with the games being predatory, right? Like, this whole paragraph here is like almost like fear-mongering. Like, games have become really greedy, and it's partly Sony's fault to some degree, which is why we believe you need to be compensated fairly, and we believe you need to be treated better. Like, what exactly do you mean? Again, getting the price down on microtransactions doesn't solve the problem you just highlighted of them being greedy and intrusive. That's still going to exist. Even if you win every single bit of this case, those microtransactions are still going to be there from the developers because it wasn't Sony that put them there. And just one last thing, in the press release, Neil wrote, "The game is up for Sony PlayStation. With this legal action, I am standing up for the millions of UK people who have been unwittingly overcharged. We believe Sony has abused its position and ripped off its customers." Alex Neil hits us with an anime protagonist line saying, "The game's up, Sony. I caught you with your pants down red-handed. It's time to face the music." And then in the press release, they also kind of frame it like the consumers didn't know they were being overcharged. But I just don't know how true that is. They kind of hint that it's Sony's fault that the consumers didn't know they were being overcharged. Like Sony was doing underhanded business tactics, when I just don't know if I believe that, because Sony doesn't really do anything besides just have a platform with a game and the price next to it, and you choose whether or not to buy it. Now, if you're not comparing that to the rest of the world's prices, then yeah, you would have no idea you're paying more than I am, for example. But it's not like it was Sony that was doing anything to mislead them, at least not that I've ever seen. They just put the games on their service with how much they cost, and it's up to the consumer if they find it to be a reasonable price or not. Now, if they do any research, they'll realize that they're paying more, and Australia especially is paying more than I am. Which is fucked up because there's no reason for it, but I don't think Sony has done anything to try and lead them down some false belief or anything. I think it's just a matter of they've been charging more and no one's really been questioning it, so they haven't changed it. And that's it. They haven't really been doing any kind of like propaganda to try and fool people into thinking that, you know, everyone's paying the same thing. And now that people are waking up to them being exploited, I think it's great that they're, you know, upset about it, because I don't think it's right. I don't think they should be paying more for no reason for the same game. It doesn't make any sense. But I just don't really like the way they talk about it in the press release, because they're putting that onus on Sony. That it was, you know, them keeping people in the dark when it wasn't. They just put the games up and that was it. But anyway, overall, I really do hope they win this class action lawsuit, and hopefully the prices do change because, like I said, it's a whole bunch of baloney that you're paying significantly more money for the same game in the UK, Australia, wherever else. It doesn't make any sense. There's no reason for that. So hopefully this does bring about positive change, and wishing them the best of luck. I just wanted to bring this up because this is a big lawsuit. That's about it. So yeah. Yeah, Roblox, the multi-billion-dollar company, is suing a YouTuber for $1.6 million. When I first read that headline, I thought to myself, Jesus Christ, they finally went after Jim Wool, the elusive boogeyman of Roblox. But it turns out it has nothing to do with Jim Wool or his evil crime syndicate. This is an absolutely wild story that I just wanted to talk about today. I'm sure all of you have heard of Roblox before, and if you're a parent, then you're probably already having a PTSD episode right now with all the money your kids have stolen from you just to buy Robux with it behind your back. It's a game that is arguably the most popular and most profitable game in the world. And a couple days ago, it was announced that they were suing a YouTuber named Penguinz0, a Roblox YouTuber who has 700,000 subscribers, and the lawsuit has some crazy allegations against him. It looks like we might have to add another name to the Roblox wiki list of the most controversial Roblox players of all time. They have this cool wall of shame where they immortalize all the worst players they've ever experienced. So it's kind of like the FBI's most wanted list, and you've got some real bad actors in here, some fucking DC supervillains like Sonic the Hedgehog XX. They even have an adorable mugshot of the criminal here and a little explanation for how they ended up in the Roblox slammer. And so far the charges in most of these seem pretty trivial in comparison to what Penguinz0 is accused of. Like a lot of these are just like Sonic the Hedgehog, for example, is accused of copying Weirdo King's game, and that's why he's on the controversial list. But Penguinz0 in the lawsuit here, he is accused of a lot of like really awful shit. So now let's really spread these ass cheeks and dive into the meat here. So Penguinz0 is being sued for $1.65 million in damages, and they say that he violated their user contract and anti-hacking laws. Now I'd like to clarify a little bit further on this. The way they say he hacked Roblox and violated their terms were he would circumvent being banned by making other accounts or using a VPN to make other accounts in order to continue to play Roblox. And they're calling it hacking in the lawsuit, I think. That's kind of the impression I got. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the traditional definition of hacking, but it is a violation of their user agreement. It just gets a little muddled when they say, like, you know, the anonymous hacker 4chan recently circumvented Roblox's anti-hacking rules by using a VPN and making another account XX Pussy Slang Sonic Hedgehog. You know, I wouldn't necessarily say that's hacking, but yeah, it is a violation of the user contract. It goes on to say that Penguinz0 is the leader of a cyber mob that with malice, fraud, and oppression commits and encourages unlawful acts designed to injure Roblox and its users. Another article expands on that a bit by saying Penguinz0 actually had a history of that kind of behavior where he would get his followers to go into the game and sexually harass its user base as well as use racist and homophobic slurs. I guess as a means of like epic trolling Roblox or some shit, I'm not really sure. Obviously I'm not fucking Saul Goodman here. I don't know what's true and what's not with these allegations or what Penguinz0 has actually done. I'm unfamiliar with his work, so I don't know any of these things. But I'm assuming they must have some kind of evidence to be tossing around these really huge allegations. And then it goes into what I consider the most weird part of the lawsuit, if these are true. Roblox said it banned Simon for attempting to upload a near-nude photo of himself, images of Adolf Hitler, and a sex game that's forbidden on the kid-focused platform. And then it again talks about his harassment of other users there. I'm sure all of you know this, but Roblox is a game that's mainly played by children, like actual toddlers that are still suckling on their mama's titty milk and watching finger family videos on YouTube. So if that's true, and Penguinz0 tried to upload a near-nude photo of himself to that game, that's so fucked up. That's like walking into an elementary school and whipping your cock out and then claiming that it was just a joke. I have no fucking clue what the point of any of that would be. That's not even like a trolling attempt. That's a speedrun attempt at jail time. If he wanted to go to prison that badly, he could have just gone to the station and just asked for it. Uploading a sex game to a kid's platform and an almost naked photo of yourself to a platform that's almost exclusively used by kids? What the fuck are you thinking? If that's all true, that's the dumbest shit I think I've ever read. Now again, I'm not Santa Claus. I don't know who's naughty and nice. I don't know what's real and what's not about this with the allegations. In response to this lawsuit coming to light, Ruben Sim has deleted every single one of his tweets except for a single one, which is just a GIF. He did have a tweet before deleting them that he left up shortly where he said he wasn't going to be talking about the case because he wanted to make it as easy as possible on his legal team to handle it, and he thought by talking about it, it would make their job harder. And I think that was a very smart play by him, but by deleting every tweet, it hides everything that they reference in the lawsuit, as well as just a couple of other things. It just gets rid of any and all evidence they try and point to in the public eye. Obviously, Roblox being a multi-billion-dollar company has likely already subpoenaed for that information, so they still have it, but from a spectator sport here, there's no way of going and looking at anything that they're referencing here and seeing if it's accurate, exaggerated, or just outright false. Though I would be absolutely shocked if Roblox was just faking this whole thing just because they didn't like his content. Apparently, Ruben Sim had a history of also criticizing Roblox as a platform. I'm not familiar with Roblox, its controversies, things it does right or wrong. I don't know any of that shit, but apparently Ruben Sim also brought to light some bad shit in the community that also painted Roblox Corp in a bad light. So some people think that this might be their way of getting revenge against him. I don't know if a multi-billion-dollar company is going to be that petty about things, but let's continue with the lawsuit here. They go a little deeper on what they mean by hacking, where he was using fake accounts and evading bans, and then it talks about what is the most recent thing that prompted this lawsuit. The worst damage allegedly came during the Roblox Developers Conference in October of 2021. In the lead up to the conference, the suit says Simon engaged his followers on Discord, glamorizing the April 3rd, 2018 active shooter and murder at YouTube headquarters in California, and threatening/taunting a copycat act of terrorism at Roblox headquarters, telling his followers to wait until someone does it to Roblox. Then, during the conference, he tweeted that local police were searching for a fictitious, notorious Islamic extremist, and that the extremist had posted a video titled, "Someone blow up Roblox now." Meanwhile, his followers allegedly posted false active shooting threats and claimed to have poisoned the conference drinks. The event was delayed and forced into a temporary lockdown while local police and private security conducted a search to secure the facility, according to the lawsuit. Roblox said it cost $50,000 to investigate and secure RDC after the incident. Simon has since deleted many of his tweets. Obviously, this is the catalyst here. This is what actually prompted Roblox to take legal action against Ruben Sim. It was this instance, and everything else was put in here to kind of show Simon's character as a way of showing that he's a bad actor in the Roblox community, I guess. So all of it was just lumped in here after this event to just give a whole picture of the situation, I guess, that Roblox is trying to deal with. Again, with all of his tweets deleted, and I couldn't even find them on archive.org, there's no way for me to look at that and be like, oh, okay, so he actually did those things. I have no way of knowing. Only Roblox and anyone that's familiar with Ruben will know if these claims are accurate or not. If they are, then obviously something was going to come from this. I truly don't know how anyone can think that you can call in a fake terrorist threat and do it publicly on Twitter without any kind of repercussions. I've seen a couple of people on Twitter that have to be addicted to whippets and heroin because they are super dumb. They were arguing that Roblox is too big and thus shouldn't care about one troll calling in a terrorist attack on their developer conference meeting. So I guess that might have been the thought process here, assuming this is all real, that maybe he thought that since they're worth so much money, they're not going to care about him doing this. But I mean, that's super fucking stupid. You should be far more afraid of a multi-billion-dollar company that easily could throw a couple $1 million to lock your ass up for this kind of shit. Because it's a crime. It's a genuine crime to call in a fake terrorist attack like this. I don't know what you could possibly expect. They're not just going to roll over and get used like a fleshlight. They were obviously going to retaliate. You shut down a conference with a terrorist threat. So yeah, just overall an extremely crazy story all around. That's a lot of money. And that's going to be a lot of money to fight the lawsuit. For Roblox, this is nothing. They make millions of dollars every couple of minutes. So they'll probably toss as much money as they need to at this and never feel it. But for Ruben Sim, this is a life-changing lawsuit here. I don't know if all of the claims in here are factual or anything. That all has to be proven in court. But my God, what a fucking wild situation here. That's about it. See ya. You're about to see a grown 28-year-old man have a conniption, just a full-blown freak-out meltdown over a chicken nugget story. I'm sure a lot of you have seen and maybe even been keeping up with this McDonald's lawsuit where McDonald's is being sued because their chicken nugget was so hot it gave a young child second-degree burns when it was stuck to their skin for over 2 minutes. Not that it, welded to their skin or anything. It got lodged in between their leg and the seatbelt and was pressed against their skin for over 2 minutes while the mother was driving home. And McDonald's has now been found liable for this whole situation here, claiming that the nugget was cooked at over 200 degrees, it was dangerously hot, and there's a whole lot of nuance and moving parts of this. A lot of people are comparing this to the old McDonald's lawsuit where a woman sued over very hot coffee where she spilled it on herself and then sued for it, saying that it was way too hot, and she did win the case. These two are not related, and I am tired of coming in here like Ebenezer Scrooge to lay down the brass tacks. That woman with the hot coffee was a very different situation where there was a legitimate problem with the temperature the coffee was served at, where it was damn near fucking the temperature of the sun's surface. Like, they were serving liquid magma. So when she spilled it on herself, she legitimately disfigured herself. Like, it was a, debilitating burn. They were 3rd degree, served from the 3rd circle of hell. And she had to get, a skin grafting procedure in order to fix what happened. Like, it was a lot. Now, in this case with the chicken nugget, we're talking about 2nd degree burns. There is a wide range of difference between 2nd and 3rd degree burns. 2nd degree burns, in very severe cases, can of course be disfiguring to a certain extent, but mainly we're talking blisters. I mean, shit. When we did the Forged in Fire video and I was crafting the finest katana the East Coast has ever seen, I was like a well-oiled machine, a fucking samurai bladesmith. When I was hitting it with the hammer, one of the pieces of the molten metal bounced up and landed on my hand and temporarily fucking fused with me and burnt it the entire time. We are talking forging temperatures. I forgot exactly what that temperature is, the exact number, but it's well north of a chicken nugget, and that was a 2nd degree burn. And it was only a blister, and after 2 weeks it went away, and now you would have no idea that I was ever even the victim of such a masculine injury, a fucking blacksmithing injury. And I was 27 at the time, I was a 27-year-old man. I don't have the same superhuman healing capabilities as a child. Children are like fucking Wolverine with adamantium coursing through their veins. They can instantly heal half of the injuries that would have an older person either dead or hospitalized in the ICU. So I have no doubt that the child will probably be fine here, and I do understand and recognize that it's still a very emotionally distressing situation, but the fact that they're trying to say it's entirely McDonald's fault I think is beyond laughable. And I feel like such a fucking cuck going to bat to defend McDonald's like a free PR loser here for them, but my disdain for multi-billion-dollar fast food corporations is outweighed by my disdain for bad parenting, and I really feel like this is an issue of parenting. I think this is the mom's fault. Now I want to summarize my feelings instantly here so there's no confusion. If this chicken nugget had burned this young child in a matter of seconds after being exposed to her skin, then I would agree that something was wrong on McDonald's end where they were serving dangerously hot food and they would deserve to be held liable. If this chicken nugget had fallen onto her lap and given her 2nd degree burns within 10 seconds, 20 seconds, even 30 seconds, I'd be like, okay, something's real fucking weird with the way they're cooking up those nuggets. Why are they so hot? That's way too hot. And that's unreasonably hot. But that's not what happened here. That's not the reality of this case. She received 2nd degree burns after having that chicken nugget pressed against her skin for over 2 minutes. That is a long time. So I don't think there was any hocus pocus with this nugget going on here. I don't think it was a higher temperature than the rest. It was just the only one that got pressed against her skin for such a long period of time. So of course it would cause some damage because of that. I don't think that has anything to do with the temperature. So let's break down the facts of the situation. The mother got their child a Happy Meal in 2019. The child was 4 years old at the time, and she allowed the child to eat in the car unsupervised. Unsupervised might not be the right word here, because it's not like the child had a fort in there, like a panic room where they were able to hide away from the mom. Like, she could still see the child, but she was able to eat all by herself without the mom being able to do a whole lot to, help in the situation. And I feel like a child that young is not going to know that chicken nuggets are going to be extremely hot. So they're more than willing to just be a little loosey-goosey with some fresh fucking nuggies. And one wild component about this case that I don't see enough people mentioning is the fact that they even got hot chicken nuggies from McDonald's in the first place, because half the time you get served those, they're fucking ice cubes. So they already found a shiny Pokemon here in the fact that their chicken nuggies were even lukewarm, let alone boiling hot, I suppose. So the 4-year-old gets the chicken nuggets, the mother is driving, and she spills the nuggets on herself. I believe they said about 6 nuggets. And one of them gets lodged between the seatbelt and her leg. And it gets pressed against her leg and starts burning her for 2 minutes with the child screaming the whole time. I think all of this is a big red flag against the mother here. One, letting the child handle hot food like this at such a young age without the mom being able to, like, help. It just seems a little irresponsible. And 2, taking over 2 minutes to remove a chicken nuggie that's scalding your daughter. Like, that seems like a ridiculously long response time. She probably could have dialed 911 and the fire department would have showed up faster to get it off. Unless she was driving on the interstate, I guess that might be a reason or an excuse, but I don't understand how she wouldn't have been able to at least just, like, reach over and, like, brush the nugget off of her daughter's leg. Or pull over and analyze the situation a little bit sooner. It just seems like a really long time. Now let's really dive into the weeds of the situation here. I'm not exactly an expert when it comes to burn science. We'd have to ask fucking Harvey Dent for more specifics, but let's start at the basics. A second-degree burn is classified as a mild to moderate burn, and it's the most common type of burn. Features of a second-degree burn include skin discoloration, blisters, shiny moist skin, pain, discomfort, swelling, and layers of skin peeling away. And I wanted to find information on what temperature foods can start to cause second-degree burns, but unfortunately all the data I was able to collect and find was about liquids and the temperature at which second-degree burns can occur. With liquids, adults can suffer third-degree burns starting at 150-degree water when exposed for only 2 seconds. And burns will also start to occur within a 6-second exposure to 140-degree water or within 30 seconds at 130-degree. So second-degree burns, from all the data I can find, really start to take place at the 130-degree Fahrenheit mark when exposed for only seconds, like literally like 30 seconds. And then once you get above there, it's even more instantaneous and even more severe. That's when you start going from second to third degree when exposed for like 150 degree Fahrenheit for like 5 seconds, stuff like that. There's also this scald chart here, but keep in mind this is all liquid. So it doesn't exactly translate 1-to-1, but if you look here at 124 degrees Fahrenheit, when exposed for 2 minutes, you get second degree burns. Now, there also is data on for like hot pavement, and hot pavement at 130 degrees Fahrenheit can also start to give you second degree burns pretty quickly as well. But I couldn't find anything for food temperatures. But let's look at some basics here. They're claiming that this chicken nugget had to be fucking going nuclear at over 200 degrees Fahrenheit, which to me just sounds unlikely. That would basically be making a chicken nugget and having one of it saturated in pure fat frying oil that somehow gets locked in between the chicken and the breading. So it'd basically be like a gusher of chicken and oil. Because I feel like there's no way chicken itself wouldn't start to liquefy at that temperature. Most chicken is cooked at 165, so it's safe from salmonella. McDonald's is maintaining that it was served at the proper 160 Fahrenheit, which is still, of course, a safe temperature to serve chicken at. And from what I'm reading, no one ever really cooks chicken above 180. 180 is the highest temperature I've seen people cooking chicken, and they claim that it gets really juicy and kind of liquidy. So I imagine if you went into the 200 range, you'd basically get like a fucking chicken broth, like a fucking soup of chicken in the breading. So I just find it kind of unlikely that they'd somehow get a 200 degree nugget, because it already has to go through a long process as well, where it was probably sitting for a certain period of time. So it just feels like it probably would have cooled off anyway if they did cook it to 200 degrees, but I'm not going to write that off as impossible. It could just be extremely unlucky. But even then, if it really was 200 degrees, if that 200 degree nugget got pressed against her skin for over 2 minutes, I think she would have much more than second degree burns. She probably would be looking at third degree burns. Of course, that's extrapolating based off the liquid temperature chart for burns, so it's clearly not 1-to-1, but even still, I think that's valuable data to give us some kind of baseline in comparison here. 200 degrees pressed against your skin for over 2 minutes, I definitely think that'd be third degree, not second degree burns. So what I think happened here is the nuggets were served at the right temperature, 160, which is still very hot. It's hot food, obviously. And it doesn't need to be like some kind of freak rogue chicken nugget that's 200 degrees that burnt her daughter. A normal, properly served chicken tender at 160 could still cause second degree burns because it got locked against her skin, pressed against her skin firmly for over 2 minutes. I could take a chicken nugget, not even like a 160 degree nugget, like one that's been sitting out for a while, and if I clench my fist around it for 2 minutes, I would probably get second degree burns too. Like, it doesn't have to be a freakishly hot nugget to cause that, at least not from everything I'm reading here. The problem wasn't that the nugget was too hot, the problem was that it got pressed against her daughter's skin for so long, causing the damage. So I feel like this is just a little silly to say it's McDonald's fault. And one of the things they're coming after McDonald's for is not making it crystal clear that hot food can be dangerous. On Thursday, the jury found McDonald's and franchise owner Upchurch Foods liable for failing to properly warn or provide reasonable instructions on the possible harm from the hot McNuggets dispensed at the Tamarack, Florida drive-thru. That's so embarrassing that we've reached the point that now we need fucking dumbass McDonald's to teach us that hot food can be dangerous. That's sad. Obviously, hot food can burn you. That's like the number one thing a human being learns extremely early in their life. Fucking cavemen knew that fire was hot. Fire equal burn, not good, don't like, ouchie. Like, I can't believe that now we're putting that onus on McDonald's to teach us that a hot food can be hurtful and cause pain when pressed against human skin for over 2 minutes. That is an unreasonably long period of time to experience continuous pain. I also didn't understand this portion of the case either. Miss Holmes purchased 32 chicken nuggets that day, and the evidence will show that 31 of them was no problem. What do you mean? How would you even have that evidence that 31 of them were no problem? They would have cooled off by the time you start gathering the data on their temperature. And then it goes on to say that she has one burn, and that's the one location where the McNugget was trapped by the seatbelt for 2 minutes. No shit! Of all of the nuggets that fell onto her lap, the only one that caused damage was the one that was pressed against her skin. Fucking obviously, this isn't like a eureka moment like a smoking gun. Clearly it's that one. It's 200 degrees, it had to be. It's the only one that had any pressure applied to the skin for an extended period of time. All the other nuggets, I imagine, were brushed off or shaken off in pain, but this one got stuck between the seatbelt and her leg, and I'm guessing while screaming and panicking, she wasn't able to free herself from the pressure being exerted on the nugget and her skin. So that's obviously the one that's going to cause the injury, not the ones that are no longer burning her or anything like that. Fucking clearly. It's not like it instantly touched her skin and burned it. If it did, then I would totally agree that there was something very awry with the process here. If it was only against her skin for a matter of seconds, then I'd be like, oh yeah, McDonald's really fucked up here, because clearly there's no world where a nugget should be so hot that if it touches your skin for like 5, 6, 7 seconds, it should second degree burn you. That's ridiculous. But when it's pressed against your skin for over 2 minutes, I would expect anything to burn you if it's even moderately hot food. So I think this whole case is just fucking ridiculous. I think it's silly. And honestly, some things are really weird about how long it took to respond to her child screaming in pain for over 2 minutes. Something about that rubs me the wrong way. There has to be a good excuse for it, like driving on the interstate or making it completely impossible for her to just reach over and, hit the nugget off her leg herself. I don't really know, but there's something about that component specifically that I find very odd. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about this because it's got me tilted, seeing a lot of people talk about it, and it's kind of divisive. It's not like everyone agrees on one thing or the other, but it's just so weird that they were actually found liable here and having to explain that they cooked their food hot to avoid foodborne illness like salmonella. People are starting to question why their food is hot to begin with. Like, how fucking stupid do you have to be to start questioning why food is hot when it's served? There's a reason we cook our food and have been cooking our food for thousands of years now. I don't know why all of a sudden that's being called into question. So, yeah, I just wanted to go over this whole case. That's about it. So, yeah.